I just got home from watching The Presence or Presence. Wait, which one? Is it The Presence or Presence? It's just called Presence. Directed by Steven Soderbergh, stars Lucy Liu, Chris Sullivan, and Kalina Lian. Um, yeah, I've been hearing a lot of things about this movie. I've seen the trailer to it for the last couple of months, and I have to say I was intrigued. I was intrigued, and I thought that it'd be an interesting movie to see. So I went to see it. I just got home from seeing it. I had some time to marinate on the subject, and here are my thoughts. This movie is not a horror movie. It's not a horror movie. And it can also depend on your perception of what constitutes a horror movie, perhaps. Let me say this: this is more of a kind of drama-based horror film. Let me get a little closer. Drama-based, like a supernatural thriller drama. Let's just say it like that. And I have to say that if you are the kind of person who was looking forward to seeing the same old usual jump scare, haunting film, blood on the, coming out of the walls, people being dragged across the floor, possession, all of that, furniture flying all over the place. And if that's what you want, don't see this movie because you're not going to get it. If you want something that has a little bit more deepening character to it, that kind of overrides what we're used to in a movie like this, watch this film. I did. I have to admit, some people will hate it. Some people will think it sucks. Oh, it was boring. And I can see why people would say it's boring because nothing that we usually expect from a supernatural film, thriller, horror film, um, happens in this movie. Nothing that we would normally expect it. So as a result, people would not like it. I even expected not to like it myself. And for a while I didn't, but then as I kind of see it open up to me in the theater, I got into it, I have to admit. What's the story about? Well, it's about this family that moves in. This is the usual thing. This is typical. A family moves into this house. It's empty. It's been empty. And over time, throughout the film, they start realizing that there is a supernatural presence in the house. Now, they moved there because they're trying to help. Not, this might be one of the reasons. One of the reasons is the daughter, right? The teenage daughter. She's kind of and then there's a brother too, a little older. She seems to be more like sensing of the supernatural presence initially there before anybody else was. It seems to be hiding out more in her bedroom. Why? Well, there is talk about a friend of hers who recently died in her sleep, supposedly. And they didn't know why. They were thinking it might be drugs or whatever. She might have OD'd, whatever. But it wasn't just one, but two friends of hers that met a similar fate, and she was trying to still deal with the grief of that. Her brother has a friend who also is involved. He plays a pivotal role in this. Once they find out that there's something going on, they actually take it another step and get a person who's gifted with kind of like seeing through the door, has more opening to those and sensitivities to those kind of things. And she makes some interesting observations when she's there. So that helps us as the audience get to know what's going on. The biggest part of this film is that this movie, the whole thing from start to finish, is actually shown through the viewpoint of the spirit of the presence itself. Yeah, a lot of wide angle shots moving around the house all over the place. Not a lot of music, right? It's going from room to room to room, getting in their faces sometimes, just checking them out and all that, and listening in on their conversations. The father and the mother are struggling with their marital issues. Father's considering even separating from the mom. Mom is having some legal troubles. So you get a little bit more into the family situation, and you start thinking more about that, and you forget for a while that this is the spirit's perspective that we're looking at. You know, think for a minute, Michael Myers in the beginning of Halloween, the first Halloween when he was a boy. You don't see him initially, but you see his perspective walking into the house, going to the kitchen, getting the knife, going upstairs. That's what that is. The whole movie is that, but from the perspective, it's the viewpoint of the ghost. Okay, now the thing that again grabbed me about this film was that this film challenges the listener, not so much the watcher of the film, but the listener. It brings up the deep questions about life and death. Is there life after death? Is there a God even? So these things come up in conversation in between the characters in the movie where, you know, you need to see it's hard to describe it, but you got to see it to understand it. It was kind of deep in that sense, like I remember the clairvoyant, the lady with the gift, said something about that the spirit doesn't understand time the way we do. There's a difference between, they don't know what is now and what is then and what is to come. And which I believe that's true. Where, when personally, I do believe that we step outside of the temporal realm at our death into something more spiritual and eternal, from an eternal perspective, where all times are more or less present at once. How that works out, I have no idea, but that's addressed in this movie, and I appreciated that. So if you really want to get in deep on it, um watch Presence. If you want to get scared out of your wits, don't watch Presence. Now, does that mean that it didn't have its moments? It did. There were moments where it was like, okay, the presence is making its presence known, and that was pretty cool, I thought. But there's something that happens at the very end of the movie that to me, that was the moment where I was like, yeah. Yeah, I was like, oh shoot, and I thought that was very deep. Trust me, I'm not really letting anything out of the bag here. Go see the movie. I'm gonna give it, I had to think I was gonna give it two, but I'm gonna give this movie three coffee cups, because it was good. I liked it, and I guess even though, and again, I don't believe this is more of a horror film, the traditional horror film. This has its own cinematic fingerprint that makes it very different. I've never seen a ghost story like this ever, ever. And because of how unique it is, that's why I'm going to give it that many, because it was definitely, the director was, and the writers were definitely daring to take it to another level and take it to another place and another perspective of what a movie like, of what a story like this can tell. This is definitely, you can definitely say this is a ghost story without all the ghosty stuff, more or less. I mean, there is some. I'm not saying there isn't, but there is, it's different. It's just very different. So I did appreciate that. So I have no, I don't think I wasted an hour and a half, because that's about how long the movie is. It's a Neon film. Go check it out. Come back, talk to me, comment below, and let me know what you think of Presence. Did you like it? It might suck to you. You know what I mean? And I'll understand why. I get it. Okay? It's just, for me, it kind of like touched me differently than that. I have a way of looking at cinema through a certain kind of lens, so to speak. So, if a movie sucks, I'm gonna say it wasn't good. This one, not too bad. It was definitely a unique one, one in its own category. I have to even admit. So go check it out. Come back, consider subscribing, and tap on the bell for future notifications for future horror and coffee content. You want coffee mugs like this one? You want t-shirts? I'll put a link below so you can check it out. Until then, this is Ralph Perez from Horror and Coffee. Until the next review, take care.